Open and we go down into the cave, and it's very interesting to see how the people of the past used to live. They lived in caves, and you can see the formation of the rooms that would have been there at that time, and where Sayyida Maryam alayhi salam was born. And remember, this is not ordinary house. This is the house of Al Imran. Allah speaks about them in the Quran, and the incidents He speaks about took place here, in their home, in their family home. When Maryam alayhi salam experienced,
there was a person in there.
Oh yes, yes. Yes.
The exact location of where Mary or Maryam was born is not clear. The Bible nor the Quran mention the location. There is a idea that she was born and she died in Nazareth. There is another idea that she was born in Jerusalem. And this particular place is near Masjid al-Aqsa, or the temple. And Joachim and Anne, or the Prophet Imran and his wife Hannah, are considered to have owned a house near this particular area where Bab al-Asbat is found, i.e. the gate, the sheep gate or lion's gate. The best falafel I've ever had. Palestine. Absolutely delicious. The Lion's Gate, also known as the Gate of Jehoshaphat, or St. Mary's Gate, or Bab al-Asbat, the Gate of Tribes, or even St. Stephen's Gate, is located on the eastern wall of the old city. It rises above the steep western bank of the Kidron Valley. The gate is near the Temple Mount, or the Masjid al-Aqsa's northern wall. It opens directly into the Muslim quarter and is the gate closest to the first station of the cross on the Via Dolorosa. This is the location where the Israeli army entered Jerusalem, the old city of Jerusalem, during the Six-Day War. I'm at the graveyard known as Maqbara al-Rahma, the Muslim graveyard on the eastern side of the Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. And you have two companions of the Prophet that are buried here. Of course, many companions frequented, and we've seen that the Caliph Umar came, and others also came. But here, it's a bit, some cars are trying to park and it's a bit noisy. But at the same time, you've got the two companions. You've got Ubadah bin Samit and Shaddad bin Aus. Both moved here because they knew of the virtues of the city. They knew the virtues and the holiness that the Prophet had informed them about this. And the Prophet had said to Shaddad bin Aus to specifically go to, I says, alayka bil Bayt al-Maqdis, to go there. And he basically came here because of the glad tidings the Prophet gave him, and also the prophecy of the Prophet that you will go to this region. So we're going to go in and have a look. And
just on the separation of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Shaddad ibn Aus, this is one incident. Dhul Asabi says, O Prophet of Allah, if you pass away,
graves of Muslims, as you can see here, which are not in the best of condition. Some of the very old stones right at the bottom there, extremely old stones, and as you go above, the stones start to change.
they're going to come and join you as well soon. Nobody's going to live forever. And we ask of us, and also
Graves of Muslims, which are found here. Let's have a read of some of these graves. Here we have Al-Marhuma Bazan Baqira Wanim Ghalib, توفيت 2008. Here we have Osman Suyam. Let's go further in and see what else is here. Anyone fancy a strawberry? السلام عليكم أهل الديار من المؤمنين والمسلمين وأنا إن شاء الله بكم لاحقون أسأل الله لنا ولكم العافية. So here there's a prayer being said. Here there's a prayer that when we enter a graveyard, especially a Muslim graveyard, we send salutations and blessings upon the inhabitants of the graveyard and say that we will be joining you. And this is a reality of life, that human beings, the day they are born, they are heading towards death, and death is an inevitable fact. And here we are in a graveyard. They say that there is not a single inch of this holy land whereupon a prophet has not walked, but not just prophets, other individuals of great rank and great service to the religion of Islam have also passed. And here we have two that are buried, two companions of the Prophet. So, and behind me there you have, in the far distance, you can probably see the Mount of Olives also. Continuing to walk through this graveyard, and there's a lot of graves, and I'm sure there's other notable graves here which I don't know of, because the history is it's outstanding. There's so much history here which it's difficult to grasp, and you really need to come here a few times or have a very experienced guide to tell you every single inch of this area. Is so historic and so full of history, and it's really something which you need to probably read up a lot about, or just have a very good tour guide to tell you exactly where everything is, and who's versed in all the nuances of the areas. But nonetheless, as mentioned, there are two companions of the Prophet here, and there's numerous other graves here, and I'm sure there's some of them are very notable individuals. But yeah, let's keep going and have a look.
That the jungle enter from here. So this is why they want to create tabletop. That's another reason why.
So right here we have the two gates, which is the mosque we were discussing previously and we were visiting, which were, these two gates are sealed now, and this is where the Jews believe that Dajjal, the Antichrist, will be killed. They also have a project to the Israelis to build a cable car from Mount of Olives all the way here, so they can go from one to the other and totally avoid the Muslim areas. And these are the gates that are sealed, and it's the Babul Rahman, the Babul Tawbah. The Golden Gate, or Shusan Gate, or Babul Rahma and Babul Tawbah in Arabic, is probably one of the most important gates in the world. I have done a separate video on this gate, and just quickly, it is a place where many Jewish eschatological prophecies will come alive, including the return of Elijah, followed by the arrival of the Messiah, or the Moshiach as they call it, and the war of the Gog and Magog on Judgment Day. And the Mount of Olives is the place of resurrection for them. And there's a cemetery in front of it, which the Jews consider ritual bodies to be ritually unclean, and the Turkish Ottoman rulers placed this cemetery at that time in front of the Golden Gate. And the Golden Gate is very old. It's a gate which originates from the time of the first building by Suleiman of Masjid al-Aqsa, or the Temple Mount. and then it was rebuilt upon many times. And the earliest course of those bricks is still available. And when the Masjid al-Aqsa, or the Temple Mount, was expanded by Herod, he could not change this particular wall, the eastern wall, and that's why it still has part of the ancient aspect to it. The Kidron Valley is right opposite. It's slightly northeast of the old city of Jerusalem, and it separates the Masjid al-Aqsa from the Mount of Olives. It continues in a general southeasterly direction through the Judean desert in the West Bank, reaching the Dead Sea near the settlement of Ovnat and descending 4,000 feet along its 20-mile course. The ancient Mar Saba, Saint Sabas monastery is located in the lower part of the valley. Other names include Wadi al-Jawz, the Valley of the Walnut for the upper segment from the area of the Masjid al-Aqsa, or Wadi al-Nar, the Fire Valley, for the rest of it, with at least the segment of Mar Saba Monastery also known in the 19th century as Wadi al-Rahib, the Monks Valley. Now we're moving by the eastern wall of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So I'm just going to go for a jog now.
It's the only church in the world that faces towards the west. Why? Why is it facing towards the west?
Behind me I've got that church behind me which is called Dominus Flevit, and it's the only church which points towards the west, and it points towards Jerusalem, whereas all other churches point towards the east, and that particular church points towards the west, and it's Dominus Flevit just over there behind me, if you can see. Just gonna go for a little jog here on the side on the eastern wall, and there's a lot to see, so need to keep fit as well, having eaten all those falafel and everything, so yeah. Right behind me, just over there, that window there, is the room of Sayyidah Maryam alayha salam, where she would go and when she was about to give birth to baby Jesus. So that is the room of Sayyidah Maryam, and you can just see that it's on the eastern wall of Masjid al-Aqsa. And the rocks that we have behind here are from the Jebusite period. Right there, those rocks are over 2,000 years old, 3,000 years old, the earliest inhabitants of Palestine. So a view of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, its perimeter walls from the outside. There you are, there's cars coming over. So this is Palestine for you. Just here, the adhan is being recited from the town opposite me.
In our language, this is
Excavations of Jerusalem. This is Jerusalem city, which is layer upon layer upon layer found of the Jerusalem city. So you can see how far down it goes, and look how high above the Al-Aqsa is compared to that down below. We're heading towards the area of Silwan, which is famous for the Prophet David, or King David according to the Jewish tradition. And Dawood in our tradition, of course, is a notable prophet. Just behind me you can see the Al-Aqsa, the dome on there. And we're going to just head over to Silwan and see the tunnels there, see the caves potentially, and try and taste some of the spring water, which I believe has therapeutic properties. And there's even mention that the Prophet Ayub potentially benefited from that. So let's have a look. Is it claustrophobic? No. My homeland is not a suitcase, and I am no traveller. Mahmoud Darwish. Heard of Mahmoud Darwish, famous Palestinian poet, and there were a few lines of him, and we often see his lines concerning what's going on and Palestine and everything. So yeah, Mahmoud Darwish. Who's the Malik هذه الأرض المرحوم عطاء الله محمود عطاء الله صيام وأولاده. So who owns this land? It's this chap. But of course we have a large flag in that land. It's actually quite nice now. It's rained. There's a little bit of a sort of musty sort of smell coming out.
Only when you come here, it says you feel barakah. You feel it when you come here. You feel the love when you come here. There's no way in
Look at this. We've got some loquat trees and we got some guava trees. You all seen these in Pakistan? We love them. Guava. Beautiful. Steep. Assalamu alaikum.
very slippery there.
It's really slippery heading down these rocks. And the funny thing is, in Jerusalem, whether it's the old city or others, they have a lot of this local rock or local stone, and when it rains it becomes so slippery. I know some of the stones in the old city are really old and have become smooth and through weather and whatnot, but generally everywhere they use this stone. When it rains it becomes really slippery, and we've had a fair few falls. I've seen a few falls and I've nearly fell myself. So yeah, when it rains it's a bit just keep on your toes. Location Silwan has special water, and a friend told me that he took somebody had taken that water and who suffered from severe acne, and they were cured. So maybe I might be cured of an ailment or two if I try this holy water. So we're gonna just head down because the Jews or the settlers have created they've made it an area where they also control and who comes in, who goes out. So we're gonna see. I don't think they're doing anything today because it's Saturday and it's their holy day, the Sabbath. So we're gonna possibly evade them because normally there's a charge of 30 shekels to get down here. We're going to be going into this spring water, or come holy water. I wouldn't call it holy water, but it's a spring. It's considered to have some sort of benefits, and I'm going to be proceeding. But I was told the water is going to be up till ankle length, but it seems knee length because it's been raining a fair bit. So we've got our old. So I'm going in with the old legs up halfway, and there you are. There it is. This.
Later, from here, when you come out.
So when the Jews actually go in here, we're just going part naked, just up to my knees. But when the Jewish people go in here, they're actually fully naked. So here we are, guys, in the Ain Silwan, and look at this. It's a very short. It's a tunnel, and it's a very narrow space. Only one person can proceed at a time. Two people cannot proceed. There's only enough space for one person to move in this location. And if you look up, it's a tight squeeze. Located in the Arab neighbourhood of Silwan, or what is known as the City of David, one of the most amazing things one can see in Jerusalem is to be found. It is known as Hezekiah's Tunnel. When Jerusalem was preparing defences against the approaching Assyrian army in the 8th century BCE, King Hezekiah decided to protect the water source, the Gihon Spring, which is a gushing water source which could still be heard gushing, with an impressive tunnel system. It was Hezekiah who stopped up and the spring of water of Upper Gihon, leading it downward west of the city of David. Hezekiah prospered in all that he did, according to Chronicles. This engineering feat was accomplished by digging a 1,750-foot, 533-meter tunnel into the mountain. An ancient stone carving found near the entrance describes the incredible operation. Today, trekking through Hezekiah's tunnel in knee-high water and learning about its history is one of the great highlights of a visit to this ancient city of Jerusalem. The Siloam inscription was discovered in 1880 by a young boy who was wading through the water. And he discovered this inscription which mentioned how the workers performed this amazing feat of chiseling through a mountain and creating a tunnel for water, with workers working from one side and workers working from the opposite side. And it is amazing how they achieve this, because it is such a narrow space and it is almost a mile long, and oxygen could be limited and it gets very dark. And it was found to be a very, very smooth and clean tunnel which had been hewn into the mountainside. The Siloam inscription reads, "When the tunnel was driven through, and this was the way in which it was cut through, while were still axe each man toward his fellow, and while there were still 3 cubits to be cut through, there was heard the voice of a man calling to his fellows, for there was an overlap in the rock on the right and on the left. And when the tunnel was driven through, the quarrymen hewed the rock, each man toward his fellow, axe against axe. This remarkable inscription is held at the Ottoman Archaeological Museum in Istanbul. It was chiseled out by the Ottomans, and it has been kept by them since and not returned, because they consider the area of Silwan to be in East Jerusalem, and that is occupied by Israel according to international law. However, to this day, that inscription remains one of the most significant finds of ancient Hebrew writing. It gives testimony to a unique moment in history and provides a compelling voice for the people who participated in this momentous project of building this significant and amazing feat of water engineering the world has seen. You can see all the markings from the pickaxes that made their impression on the stone millennia ago. One can stand at the exact spot where the two groups of workers finally broke through and imagine the excitement at coming together. The tunnel culminates in a pool called the Shiloh Pool, where, according to the Jewish accounts, priests would immerse themselves before they would ascend towards their temple. According to the Quran, Jesus healed a blind man. And in the New Testament, Jesus put clay on a blind man's eyes and then sent him to wash them out in the pool's purifying waters, giving him sight. Jews also traditionally made 3 pilgrimages a year to Jerusalem, and they would bathe within this very pool. It's getting really narrow in here, so I've had to turn my phone around to film. Just look how narrow it is. It's getting really narrow, and it's a bit scary because it is really tight in here. If you're claustrophobic, you're not going to enjoy this. The water is quite high, not very high, but it's still high. But just look how narrow it is, because I'm actually inclining.
It is about 5 minutes we are walking for. So 3:55 we start. 3:55 is our time.
So it's been about 20 minutes now, and I'm still in the cave in these springs, and the water's still knee high, and it's very cramped. The roof is getting down. Now the roof is a bit higher, but it's still pretty cramped, as you can see. Takbir! Right, we've reached the end of the tunnel, folks, and we're coming out of the tunnel now. It's been really good fun. The water's actually got quite deep now, look. And yeah. We've come out the caves, in the water, the pools and everything, and now we've reached the mosque, which is related to Ayub alayhi salam. So let's have a look at that. Right, we've just been to the pool of Silwan, and we've gone through all that cave full of water and just prayed at the mosque of Ayub, where we are right now. And Ayub is well known because, according to the Quranic narrative, he had a illness, an affliction and his house collapsed upon his 14 children. His orchard was burnt to ashes, and all this affliction. Then his wife was approached by somebody who said he could cure Ayub, and it was actually Shaitan. And when Ayub found out, he was not happy with this, and he said that I will take an oath. And the Quran tells him to strike a certain area, and a well appeared, water gushed out, and he used that water and he was cured, and the story goes on. Just heading back to the old city now, and I suppose if I just zoom in, you can see the red and green. That's the Palestinians. They've got the red and green star, but there's also a blue one there. That blue light is basically the Star of David. So you can see where these guys are just pushing in and taking. It's a bit of a attrition going on there, but you got it lit up with the Star of David, and you've also got it lit up behind me in that town of Silwan with the green and the red, which is Palestinian. So we're at the city of David now, heading back from Silwan. So the ancient ruins once more with the Aqsa in the way. So, and the Jerusalem skyline. But just finished off. Then he's going for Isha prayer, and we're going to head back now to the mosque, and that's it. We're going to wrap up, I think. Good night, everyone. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.